February 1st, 2017 meeting of the Quincy Conservation Commission. We have the minutes.
Yeah, motion to accept the minutes?
All in favor?
Yep.
Minutes are approved. We've got three matters on. The first is a continued case of 7 Chickatawbin Road, request for determination of applicability.
Good evening, board members. For the record, Steve DeRoche, the Ponce Valley Survey Associates, 95 White Street here in the city of Quincy. Again, as you mentioned, we're here as a continuance of the project. I gave about a pretty thorough explanation the last meeting, what we're trying to do here, and then Mr. Keener suggested a continuance so that everybody can go out and take a look at the site. And I didn't hear anything about the results of those meetings, visitations or whatever.
I didn't have any issues with it.
Yeah, when I was out there, it looked like that by raising the elevation of the roadway, it's going to drain, I should say the driveway, it's going to drain to the neighbor's property.
I'm sorry?
When I did the site inspection,
Yeah,
when you raise the grades of the driveway,
yeah.
I guess the best way to explain it, there's a fence that kind of goes along here.
Correct, yep.
And it
And a
appears
wall,
that with the new contours, the water's going to flow over to
no, that's going to be below the wall here, below the, I think you see some elevations on top of the wall. And all the grading inside here is going to be below the walls.
Yeah, over here, I don't see a wall. I see a fence, but I don't see any walls on the existing property.
Yeah, but then again, all of the grades that we have in here are going to be below these elevations here.
If that's the case, you'd be dropping, look like you'd be dropping the roadway. Because what I saw,
It
this
is
property
dropping.
line here, they were pretty much even. So this area, you're going to drop.
Drop, yeah,
So this elevation will be
13 and a half.
this is only 12 and a half.
Yeah, it's going to be 13 and a half right in this area here. And then it's going to get down to the existing grade or just below the existing grade to keep all the grading on. I mean, if push comes to shove, and you'd like to maybe see a berm up there or something, then we are proposing to pave the driveway. So we can always put a berm there to keep the water on the site.
Well, I'd like to see it by this curve.
Well, that's what I'm talking, yeah.
Yeah.
And if that's the condition, then that's fine, no problem.
Anybody else?
I also went for the site visit myself the day that we had the storm. And the storm had pretty much ended, but there were puddles everywhere. One of the questions I have, we as a board sit here when we're gonna build a brand new home, and we have to have flow through everything.
Right.
This area is so clogged already, and to me, the proposal appears to clog it even more. And I know I say this over and over, I've been there when it's bad, my hairdresser lives across the street. The people next door had to do a flow through, I sold them the house, they tore it down, they had to do a flow through, and all of a sudden, we're buttoning everything up, when in fact, we're taking the true meaning of flow through away. And I know we said coastal, but that place is so bad. And there's also, in the next yard over, a sealed basin full of cement with a wishing well over it. I've been there, I've witnessed it, I see it, I even know the neighbors that tell me who did it. And yet, I don't know how we correct that issue. But I really feel if we insist upon flow through for all of our new construction, what are we doing? And I will rest my case, but I really am not happy with this one.
Well, I mean, how would you do a flow through? And a foundation is easy. If the water comes in, the water goes
It
out.
flows right through, just like next door. The
Yeah.
house next door has a
Yeah.
flow through.
Like this here now, the water comes in today, and it stays right there.
It doesn't flow through, but it's grandfathered in. If we
Right.
were to tear that house down,
Yeah, if we
they
did.
would have to do that.
Correct.
But we insist upon new construction to be flow through. The whole Strand area is now all flow-through. But yet in this case, it just seems to me like it's adding up more water instead of flow-through.
Well,
It's
for a
grandfathered, I
point where we
understand.
do have a dry well there, that's going to, you know, it's going to take some of the water that comes in.
Perhaps,
You know, as you say, it is an existing condition.
Correct.
It's grandfathered in.
correct.
We're doing nothing more than to raise the level of this grandfathered area, if you will.
But with the cemented catch basin in the backyard of the next house,
Yeah, I mean,
which is a whole issue, and we're
Yeah.
not flowing through here, we're just gonna clog it more. And that's,
it's
you
gonna
know,
clog our property though.
and you're gonna clog the whole neighborhood, because I've been there when we've had the blizzard of 78, the
Yeah.
blizzard of 91. That you could, those people were out of there. The last storm we had, the people next door were taken out of there. So I still feel it's bad enough, and now we're fooling around with it, so.
But I mean, we can't really make them do a flow-through on a house that already exists.
Correct.
And basically, their garage, their basement floods every time, that's not a proper flow-through. So I think
Correct.
there's not much more we can do.
But are we going to be sealing up their basement, which makes even less flow through?
I think adding the berm, as the applicant suggested,
Keeps
it
it.
contains any water and flow on the property as it is right now. It just maintains the existing conditions. Better drainage for the property owner.
Now, I'm concerned with the neighbors, so.
But the neighbors have that,
The immediate neighbors have flow through.
but no, you said the neighbors have that well or something that's.
In the back, there's a catch basin
Yeah,
with poured
yeah.
cement in it, with a wishing well over it.
And
I
you
don't
know,
have any other concern besides that.
but, any-
I've been down there at low tide and at high tide, and I just think it's gonna flow out to the street.
This way?
with a berm, or it could overflow, which
Well,
is.
it's got the wall,
Yeah.
a small wall,
Mhm.
right? So that's gonna edge it out away from her house as opposed to down into her driveway.
Yeah, I mean, that's,
But you have a house on each side.
but you can't require a
You have a
homeowner to
house
flood
at
their
the corner.
basement.
I
That's
don't
not
think,
proper drywall.
This is the existing elevation, 14.3 of the curb cut.
Yeah, there is existing at back of sidewalk, and this is the existing outdoor paving.
That's 13.6.
Yeah, the water's gonna come this way.
So this is the low point where the drain is.
Right.
There's going to be a higher low point.
Sorry?
It's going to be a higher low point.
Yeah, that's basically, yeah.
We can do other than apply the berm. You go ahead, motion? There's a motion that the, it's actually an RDA, so we can condition an RDA.
Yeah, I'd like to see an amended plan showing the berm, whatever it's going to be, some type of curbing.
The berm wants to be on
right there,
the west side, the
to
west
force
side of the
the
property.
water back out to the street.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you know what you're using over here? I didn't
There's an
recall.
existing wall there.
Oh, okay, retaining wall. So you can use granite, stone, or whatever. Do it as easy, as cheaper, convenient. Doesn't matter.
Make
Motion to close the hearing and issue a non-determination of applicability contingent upon the applicant submitting an amended plan showing a berm on the west side of the driveway.
Mr. Chairman, may I just say one thing?
Yeah.
For the record, Councilor Margaret LaForest asked me to relay to the board that she had a conflict, she wasn't able to be here tonight, and that she thanks the board for doing a site visit and vetting this project out. Thank you.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
And no, that I'm against it.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
3, 2.
4 years.
All right, the next matter is Butler Pond, Marymount Road, notice of intent.
I think we're going to do,
Oh, I'm sorry.
we're going to do Granite Street next.
Okay,
Yeah.
we'll do 444 Granite Street, notice of intent filed by the City of Quincy. The applicant proposes demolition of existing school and other associated buildings on site, and construction of one school building, parking lots, landscape areas, hardscape areas, and driveway per plans. Resources borderland subject to flooding, and this is the Sterling Middle School.
Yes. Hello, my name is Brian LaRoche. I'm with PCA 360. I'm the owner's project manager representing the City of Quincy on this project. So this is the new Sterling Middle School, which will replace the existing. The new will be built at the same time that the existing is in place. There's going to be several phases that go on. The rear of the existing school, the first phase, the gym and the locker rooms are going to be taken off, and a portion of the building, which will allow us the room to build the new, which will be set right fairly tight to the existing, and then at the toe of the hill at that site. So it'll just stay outside of the floodplain. So this project's been in the works now for about 2 years with the city. It's something that the mayor's very proud of. It's funded by the MSBA through a grant program. So we're working our way through finalizing the documents and getting pretty close to the start of construction, which will be this summer. Our plan is once the kids get out of school, to begin the process of taking apart the old. It'll be about a 2-year project before it's all said and done when the students return in September of 2019. So we have PAR Engineering, which is our civil engineer, here tonight to present the plans to you. But I just wanted to introduce myself and let you know I'm here if you had any questions, sort of general in nature to the project. Introduce yourself.
Sure. So, Lindsay Mockamer, like Brian said, I'm here with PAR Corporation. We're the civil engineer of record for the project. So I'd like to just give you an overview of the project. So they summarize the existing conditions, explain a little bit of the design process we went through, and describe the proposed impacts, including impacts to the floodplain. So just to start off, is this a good position for the plans to be here? You all set? Okay. So we have an aerial of the site. The property line is shown here in red. The site is a little less than 4.5 acres total area. And just to orient you, we've got Granite Street to the west here and Robert Street to the east. And then there's 2 side streets that come down to the site, Grossman Street and South Junior Terrace, that come onto an on-site driveway along the northern property line. So primarily surrounded by residential properties and Kincaid Park over to the east. So the current site layout, we've got the existing school building up pretty close to Granite Street here. And if you're familiar with the site, there's a pretty significant grade change across the site from east to west. We're 25 to 30 feet lower on this portion. There's a pretty big drop off along the back of the school. So in the rear of the site, you've got an existing bituminous track, the driveway I mentioned, and a little basketball court there. So the impervious area on the site is a little less than 50% of the area is impervious in the existing conditions. Generally, the way the site drains today, it follows the topography. So from east to west, it drains overland and partially to on-site catch basins, to subsurface drains, which connect to 2 points in Robert Street. There's a drain main in Robert Street. So our analysis point in considering drainage design was at this corner of the property here in the main in Robert Street. In terms of other utilities, the current building is serviced by town water and town sewer and gas and electricity. So some of the investigations we did to do our due diligence on the site included a traffic impact analysis, environmental site assessment phase 1, geotechnical investigations, and investigations for wetlands, at which time we determined that there was a bordering land subject to flooding on the site with the 100-year flood elevation at elevation 29. So most of this portion of the site from the bottom of the slope eastward is within that flood.
So the main building is not within?
Correct. correct. So just to give you elevation, so 29 is the floodplain elevation. The current building, finished floor, or of the main floor, is set at elevation 56. So that's where we are with that. To our proposed site plan. So this is the site plan, same orientation. We've got Granite Street to the west here and Robert Street to the east. The existing building is shown with a red outline here for your reference. And the floodplain line is shown in the dark blue here. So the proposed layout, we've got the new building here. And as Brian mentioned, there's going to be a little bit of a phased construction process that happens. So most of the existing building will stay in place while the new one's being constructed. So we're tucking it between that floodplain line and the existing building. In terms of elevations, the finished floor of the lower floor of the building is set 1 foot above the floodplain elevation, so at elevation 30. The lower floor has a walkout onto the Robert Street side, and the second floor has a walkout 28 feet higher onto the Granite Street side. So we're keeping that same, slope across the site. And on the front lawn, we've got a pretty significant grass area out in the front for some recess activities. There will be bus drop-off happening along Granite Street, and there's a little parking area for visitors in the front here. In the rear of the site, we've got an on-site parking lot for staff and faculty, and there is a drop-off loop for parent drop-off. We're maintaining this on-site driveway along the northern property line, but we are planning to improve it with sidewalks and actually a bike lane along the south here. And then there is a grass field for sports and recreation for the students. Utilities are going to be similar in the proposed condition. We've actually been coordinating with the Department of Public Works to make sure we're connecting in the appropriate locations, so it'll still be town water and sewer, and also gas and electricity. Drainage, we have designed in accordance with the Mass Stormwater Handbook. So we have a mix of redevelopment and new development on the site. We have a slight increase in the amount of impervious area we have, about 13,000 square feet. Of course, actually, let me go to the drainage plan. The site was designed to provide the recharge that we needed to match the peak off-site flows for all of the design storms and to provide adequate treatment for the impervious areas. So just to give you a little bit of a summary, the impervious area of this parking lot to the west here drains to an infiltration system that I've highlighted in green. We're taking advantage of some good sandy soils up here where we have really good clearance to groundwater to get the recharge that we need. The parking areas on the east of the site and the driveway here drain to two separate fire retention areas, one in green here and one along the southern property line. And those are going to act as filtering systems, so the stormwater will filter through the media to an under drain that connects to the closed drainage system. And the roof area is directed to a closed pipe detention system, which is going to be below grade in this field here, so that we can slow the flows and match the peak flows off-site in our 2, 10, 25, and 100-year storm. So that generally summarizes drainage. Again, we have been working with the DPW, and they've had discussions about the design, and at this point, we understand that we've satisfied their requirements for the drainage design, but we're certainly happy to answer any more questions. And then finally, I'll summarize the flood storage calculations that we did. This is actually the figure that was as attachment 6 in the NOI report. And I actually brought with me here, and I have copies for each of you, a revised version of this plan. And I'm hoping that it will be able to replace the version that is in the report. So there were some minor modifications from the original submission on the 13th to some grading that was right at the edge of the building. But first I'll summarize what's on this plan for you. It still does meet the requirements of the regulations. So we have shown in each color the area on the site, which is incrementally between each elevation, below the floodplain elevation. So we're showing that the flood storage from the existing condition incrementally is matched or increased in the proposed condition. So if it's all right, I'll grab those plans and give you each a copy of this.
Just ask a question about that plan there, though. So the, I mean, basically by putting the building on the slope, you're gonna change the entrance to be now at the lower end. This is actually an entrance area here? This will be a driveway?
This here?
Yeah.
Yep, so this driveway, I'm a little confused, but so this driveway we're matching, there is the on-site driveway right now.
Yeah.
We're changing it because we're putting sidewalks along it, but we're generally matching its layout.
But this turnaround area in here, which is in the resource area,
Yep.
is the new entrance to the school?
Yes.
Rather than the front other side?
Well, both have entrances.
Oh.
Yeah, yeah.
This will
There-
be the
The
parking.
main
Yes.
entrance?
Yep, so there'll be the parent drop-off that happens along this driveway here, and there's a walkout from this elevation. And this parking lot is for faculty and staff.
Oh, it's faculty. parking.
Yep, and then the upper floor, there'll be bus drop-off here. So this will primarily be the main entrance, but this will function like the main entrance as well.
Okay. And that's in the resource area, the building is not?
Correct.
Okay. And what is you're matching the drainage there by how you're doing it?
How are we matching the
Because
drainage?
it was non-paved area, right?
Yep, so there was some existing paved area. It was not parking area, but it was track, right?
Track.
So in terms of matching the drainage, we're pitching the parking lot that is higher in the center, right? That's where we're moving it up a little bit to either side for treatment in the bioretention area and here. So that's primarily how we're handling runoff from this parking area.
Are you guys proposing to replace the athletic fields within the building, or what's going to be there?
We'll be referring to the track.
Yeah.
The track isn't going to be replaced, but there's a larger plan for the city to address that within the fields that are across the street. So that's, but there'll be an activity area at the top and below that can be used.
There's just going to be a green area?
Green, that's right.
Yes, yeah. So I have, and I have provided electronic copies. I'm more than happy to provide any other format that you're interested in. But I have a revised grading sheet, which shows the grading impacts, and I've got a revised version of that.
I have a,
We got these, Nora, these are the new, showing the AE area, or these were in the. Okay.
this is the Brown Street, this is the Workers' Pond.
Well, that's the AE area.
That supersedes the grading. So the drainage concept and elevation and inverts and everything all remain the same.
Part of the entrance up here, part of the entrance down here. That's the way to use the slope.
Has this been in front of the city council?
Yes, it is. In the summer was when the city council approved the project. They approved the funding for it. It was an appropriation of $56 million.
Did Councilor Yang say anything about the numbers of the address?
I wasn't at that hearing, so, but we'll address
I'm a
that.
real
What's the
estate
question?
agent, you cannot sell a number 4 in the city. So if you want Asian children to be going to this school, see what you can do about that front door number.
Point well taken. I know what you're speaking about, yes, thank you.
But, I mean, we're the only board that really has to approve this because it's a city.
We're working closely with all the departments, and so, yes, you're because of the floodplain wetland, that's why we're here before you.
Any questions? Yeah? We do have some comments from, is this from your group, from Lindsay
That's me.
That's you, oh, okay.
That's me.
This is your comments to Lindsay, to the city engineer Chang,
Yes, yep.
Chang? Okay, so we'll circulate those.
Yep. And we've satisfied all of his requirements. So he's accepted all of our answers.
Okay, he's the engineer. We'll let him do
He was the city's reviewing engineer.
that. Okay, any questions? All right, we'll open up to any questions or comments from the public here.
I just got one question.
Okay, identify yourself.
John Rutherford, 62 Bremwell Road. Is that land, is it in a flood zone? Like, is that an AE flood zone that Sterling Middle School is in right now?
Yes, well, no, so this blue, there is an AE flood zone on the site, so this blue line represents the line. So this portion of the site is not within the floodplain, and this portion of the site is within the floodplain.
So the buildings are not.
Buildings are not.
So like, is it part of the land to the right, or is it just like a little river or a creek or
Now,
something?
this blue is the delineation between, there's a very steep slope here on the existing site,
Okay,
and it rises up 28 feet from the lower field to Granite Street. So all of this portion of the site is not in floodplain, or the flood zone, but the lower part is.
and what is the flood plain, the BLE of that, what's the flood level?
29, elevation 29.
And you're saying what, you're building the thing basically at 30? I mean, I just think that waters are rising in the city, and I think, you know, we gotta be thinking not 5 years or 10 years from now, but like 30 or 40 years from now, because we're gonna be building a school. I was at all the meetings about this planning. It's $59 million, and it's $458 a square foot is what this is costing the taxpayer, so it's quite a thing. And I guess if, you know, you guys can maybe make sure that they put a school someplace good. I think it's bad enough that we're letting developers build on flood zones. I don't think we're setting a good example as a city that we're putting a school on a flood zone. And, you know, my other concern, I'm not sure if it has to do with conservation, but asbestos, when you're tearing down the other building, especially if school is still going on, there has to be tons of asbestos in that old building. And you know, that's just another thing. I just kind of think it's crazy to literally be doing a project at the same time when school is going on. And you know, they've made a decision, and I guess that's what the Conservation Commission is here to do, to try to see, you know, does it make any sense, you know? And
Well, we won't get involved in the actual construction. We're from the ground down, but you know, the first point to that.
We'll be having some community meetings as we get closer to talking about the logistics.
could it be built higher?
And
Or-
we'll be announcing some community meetings. Welcome your input.
Okay,
So you'll have time to voice those questions and concerns.
Okay, thank you very much.
Sure.
Getting back to the flood zone, we base it on the 100-year plan.
Okay,
So, I mean, we'd have to get a whopper of a storm again, which we get every 30, 40 years. But I know things are rising, but we also have catch basins, and we take rainwater and dispose of that now. So there's ways to help from what the old buildings were to the new buildings.
okay.
Any other questions
Thank
or
you.
comments? Okay, for our purposes, so we've got the comments here from Lindsay's comment to respect to that'll go in the record. At this point, is a notice of intent. Do we have a motion?
Motion to close the hearing and issue the order of conditions.
second.
All in favor?
Uh,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
This is one. And our next matter is Butler's Pond, Marymount Road, notice of intent, filed by Beecher Hall, Quincy Department of Public Works. The proposed project has two primary components, pond dredging and gravel treatment wetland installation. This is proposing to hydraulically dredge Butler Pond and remove approximately 3,900 cubic yards of excess sediments that is accumulated within the pond basin. The goal of dredging the project is to restore areas that have been filled with sediment while also improving water quality, fish and wildlife habitat, and recreational opportunities by reducing the effects of can't say that.
Purification.
And reestablishing a variety of water depths within the pond. Resource areas, bank, land under water bodies, and waterways.
Thank you. My name is Alex Patterson, ESS Group, on behalf of Quincy DPW. So Butler's Pond is a fairly 1 1/3 acre pond located just northwest of here, bordered on 3 sides by public roads, and on the 4th side by some residential properties. My firm, ESS, has been working with the Friends of Butler Pond for a few years, looking at the issues that are facing the pond and potential solutions. So essentially, the main crux of the issue at Butler's Pond is that there are multiple stormwater, basically inputs, both from the northern and the southern side of the pond, from catch basins on Butler Road and Marymount Road, that bring stormwater into the pond during rain events. But the pond has no surface outlets, so it's basically a dead end in the watershed. So anything that comes into the pond, including sediment, there's really no way for it to ever leave other than through dredging. So what has resulted from that over the years is that the volume of the pond has gradually decreased over time, and now we're at a point where there's more sediment accumulated in the pond than there is actual water. So water depths typically max out at about 3 to 4 feet, whereas sediment in the pond is up to 6 feet. So based on sediment depth sampling that was conducted by ESS, we determined the volume of sediment in the pond and designed a dredge design to remove approximately 4,000 cubic yards of sediment with the goal of basically reversing the effects of eutrophication, nutrient concentrations that have been increasing due to the sediment inputs, and improve fish and wildlife habitat and recreational opportunities. So that's one portion of the project, is to remove the sediment that has already accumulated in the pond. The other portion of the project is to install a gravel treatment wetland at the primary stormwater input north of the pond, between the pond and Butler Road, which will essentially treat stormwater before it enters the pond, and will also include a sediment forebay to allow future dredging to occur much easier without actually affecting the pond itself.
How does that work? Can you explain that last part about getting future dredging?
Yeah, so basically the gravel treatment wetland, which you can see on the plan, will be located between the pond and Butler Road. And one of the features of the gravel treatment wetland will be a sediment forebay. So it's essentially an area where sediment can settle in the basin before it enters the pond, so that, if in 10 years that forebay is full, it'll be a simple matter of just bringing in an excavator, scooping that out without having to touch the pond. As it stands now, the sediment just comes into the pond, and so we're at a situation where we need to remove the sediment from the pond. So in terms of the actual dredge work, we're proposing hydraulic dredging for a few reasons. Hydraulic dredging, in case you don't know, involves a vessel-based dredge that can operate in water depths of probably as little as 2 feet, and it uses a hose to suck the sediment from the bottom of the pond in a slurry and then pump it into what are called geotubes, which are essentially large sort of bags made of geofabric, which will be staged along the marginal road to the west side of the pond. Once the sediment enters the geotubes, it'll begin to de-water, and so the water from the sediment will run back into the pond. And then, once the sediment has thoroughly dewatered and the geotubes have been filled, they'll be trucked away from the site to the final reuse location. Based on the sediment sampling that we did, we've concluded that the sediment in the pond is contaminated to the point that disposing of it at a landfill in Massachusetts is not possible. So it's likely going to have to be transported to an out-of-state landfill. That's the most feasible option for disposal at this time.
What is it contaminated with?
There's a table in the notice of intent that gives the sediment sampling results. I think the biggest things are arsenic and lead, which are actually really common in pond sediments in this part of the country because of past industrial uses. So those are both very high, but the thing that actually prevents it from being disposed in Massachusetts landfills is something called semi-volatile organic compounds, which is sort of a catch-all term that includes dozens of different chemicals with unpronounceable names. But essentially, the sum of all the SVOCs is higher than what Massachusetts allows to be placed in landfills in the state.
And that's just from years of accumulated runoff of the roads and things like that?
Yeah.
It's never industrial.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm not very familiar with sort of past land uses, but for a lot of ponds that we work in New England, we see really high arsenic and lead and other metals, which typically come from either leaded gasoline from cars driving by, or lead paint, or if there were industrial facilities within the watershed that may no longer exist, that's also usually a
Well,
source.
there's no industrial facilities there.
Yeah,
It's all housing.
so
and
probably either just geologic, naturally occurring geologic concentrations, or lead paint or leaded gasoline.
In the area where you're gonna do, better term, you have a term for it, the sediment retention area?
The gravel treatment wetland.
What is there now? That's not a part of the pond, it's part of the
No.
solid land? It's
Yeah,
up
so it's upland, it's in the buffer zone. There's a very narrow BBW fringe along the pond right here. The gravel treatment wetland is entirely outside of that BBW, so it's only in the buffer zone. It's basically just mostly herbaceous vegetation with some small trees which would need to be cleared. But that's what it is right now.
So you're not gonna be removing any of the phragmites that was in there?
Well,
You're just gonna go after the silt that's on it?
yeah, I mean, the goal is to remove sediment from the pond. I know the Friends have done Phragmites control at the pond in the past, and I was actually there in the spring of 2016 and to delineate the wetlands, and there actually wasn't any Phragmites when I was there. So I think it sort of comes and goes because we're using hydraulic dredging. There's not really an opportunity to sort of scoop out Phragmites like you could with an excavator. But that would be something that would sort of be an ongoing management goal to control the invasive species of the pond.
And working with the Friends of the Pond, you're cooperating with all the neighbors here, so this is definitely for the benefit of the neighborhood.
Yep, we've received letters in support of the project from the Friends, and you know, the condition of the pond now is unfortunate because it could be a nice resource area in what is a relatively urbanized neighborhood for fishing and boating and ice skating and that kind of thing, and it's you know, this condition that it's in now sort of makes those recreational uses somewhat difficult.
It's entirely city-owned land.
Yes.
Is there anything alive in the pond now?
Sometimes there's ducks on the pond. I don't think there's a lot of fish, but, and there's not really a lot of plants.
There used to be turtles, I don't know whether they're gone.
But there's still no outlet for it, so it'll,
Right.
that's why you need the retention, the area to collect the sediment, because it'll continue to
Right.
do this unless you have it.
Right, I mean, if we just dredged it and didn't create the gravel treatment wetland in 30 or 50 years, or maybe 10 years, we would need to dredge it again. So the purpose of the gravel treatment wetland is to try to expand the lifetime of the dredging, so that you get more value out of it.
Any questions from the board?
Is it safe to say that the city's paying for this, or do those nice contractors around there help out with this?
As far as I'm aware, it's a city-funded project.
And those contractors didn't help?
You know, nice condos out of your
Yeah.
middle school?
Next door, not that I'm aware.
Any comments? Okay.
Go ahead, sir.
Go ahead, dear.
Good evening. I'm Bob Berry. I'm one of the property owners by Butler Pond. Anything that improves the pond, I'm all in favor of. Could I get a little clarification about the gravel recharge area? Was that what you called it?
The
You want to show
gravel
the
treatment
plan?
What is that going to look like? Is it going to be like a detention pond?
Essentially, yeah, I mean, that's the idea. It's gonna be, you know, sort of a depression that's created between Butler Road and the pond, where, when it's done, it'll basically just look like sort of a depression that holds water with emergent wetland plants.
Okay, and where will that be located? It'll be right across from the Darth Quincy Post?
If you come up, I can show you the plan.
Yeah, it's shown up here.
That's what I was asking, so it's not part of the pond now, it's just a kind of a wooded area right here.
Yep. So there's Butler Road, comes through like that, that's where the school used to be. And so the gravel treatment wetland is proposed for this area right between the pond and the road. It's really the only place along the pond.
So as the runoff comes off, that'll be a natural collecting place.
And surface runoff, and there's actually existing stormwater infrastructure, so that will be rerouted to discharge into the gravel treatment wetland.
Be like a
rather than
filter,
the pond.
almost like a
Yeah.
filter for the pond.
So it'll be a
Exactly.
depression?
Yep.
Period.
Yep.
Thank you.
I think the commission knows me, but for the record, I'm the Reverend Sheldon Bennett, 43 Marymount Road, Unit 11, across the street from the pond. And I serve as the director of the Friends of Butler Pond. And as the commission knows, we've been, since our founding about 10 years or so ago, we've been working with the city, various departments, DPW, Parks, this commission, Community Preservation Commission, ESS Group, Woodard and Curran, and neighbors, and the contractors, by the way, the developers, to work towards preserving the pond, restoring the pond, preserving it, and advocating for its care and upkeep. We've been working, just to answer some of the questions that were raised. There is wildlife in the pond. There are turtles. There's approximately a dozen. I've seen, last summer I saw at one time about 9 at one time up on logs and rocks. We were reminded just how shallow that pond is during the dry season this summer. The water level dropped so low that approximately half of the bottom of the pond was fully exposed. And I know the turtles appeared to be becoming a little anxious about the situation. Probably they were up on logs and things looking for what's happening to our water. There are frogs, bullfrogs and various frogs. Over the course of the year, it's a visiting spot for migratory birds. And during the summer, there are herons. They're looking for frogs. They'll stand in the pond and catch a frog every now and then. So there is wildlife. I think if the pond were deeper, it would probably host fish, I would expect. Our concern is, I think many of your reports have indicated this, that because the pond is so shallow, sunlight gets to the bottom of the pond very easily. The pond warms up more rapidly than it would otherwise, invites invasive species, Phragmites in particular. A deeper pond would help protect the pond from various invasive species. Just for the record, we worked with the DPW ESS group, Curran, to organize a community meeting which was held this past summer in August 17th, which the community was invited. Your firm made a presentation about this project together with Woodard and Curran that was more involved with the gravel wetland stormwater treatment feature at the north end of the pond. We had a discussion with the neighbors that attended, and there was broad support for going forward with filing for permits and so forth that resulted in this environmental notification form and so forth. So the neighborhood's in support of the project. I also want to commend the developers, particularly Edgewood Development, that's the developer for the Central Middle School project. We worked with them to upgrade their stormwater treatment system that they put in, more than they were originally planning to do, with infiltration, recharge chambers, and I think there are 5 rain gardens, and tree box filters, and other measures that will help protect the pond from stormwater runoff from their site, which is about 2 acres that drains into the pond one way or another, and was a major source of contributing various nutrients and various other things that are running into the pond. So we commend they've been very cooperative. They help us with our regular trash pickups. They'll have a few people come over and join with us to help pick up the trash. And we've been quite pleased with the cooperation we've had with Edgewood. So just to conclude, I think the Friends of Butler Pond are very much in support of this project. We see that this is just a jewel of a natural resource, 6 blocks from Quincy Center, a natural pond that could be, has been in the past, and it was the kind of the front yard of the Dorothy Quincy house in its early days, and still right across the street from the Dorothy Quincy house. And it's a real asset, not only for the neighborhood, for the whole city. So we support this project.
Mr. Bennett, I just want you to know, I wasn't picking on your complex. I was looking for the new guys in town, not your group.
Well, there's things we can be doing too.
You've been around as long as I have at the marina, so I know how old your complex is.
Any other questions? Okay. We get a motion.
A motion to close and issue the order.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Good job.
We don't have any other business. We have a letter to go to the record from the Army Corps of Engineers regarding the Safe Harbor Marinas. Just advising them that they must complete a paperwork with the Army Corps. So that'll go in the record. And if there's no other business, if not a motion?
Motion closed.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Oh, I didn't sign it. No, what else? I was running to me. And this will come up later, or July 12th.
What's that?
Did you see that?
Oh, I did, yeah. No, we were just trying to find out, this room is gone that night, when I sent up to the mayor's, office. So we were just wondering, should we forget about the July meeting altogether, or should we go a week before or a week after? The July 12th, do you remember that? Yeah.
Yep, good question.
July's the
No.
12th.
He's spoiled now, huh?
Yeah.
Go upstairs.
Yeah, we'll go use the city chamber.
There is another room we could use someplace.
Yeah, they said downstairs,
Yeah.
the room that they use for the early voting and things like
What
that.
about the chambers?
I think that's where
So what do we do, keep,
Let's look a little closer, and if it's not a busy, if there's not a lot of things on the agenda in July, then we often take a month off.
But don't we skip usually August?
Yeah, it's usually August.
Yeah.
so, I mean, we can use it.
Swap it up this year, July instead of August.
Yeah, changing the week gets confusing to me.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
So I'd rather
You were
just
out
use a
of town
different.
last time, you and I were both out in August.
I'm usually in August.
Yeah, so we'll plan to keep it, we'll just find it out.
Change the room, okay.
Oh, I keep our eye on it.
I think we have some
We
good
use
stuff.
copies before.
Yeah. But people are used to coming here, so maybe it's better that we do it in the building.
We can do it outdoors together.
July,
Is there,
So are we going,
we can do it on the green?
Conservation, that would be appropriate for the
It's over
conservation.
now, Brian, it's
Do it
over
at-
now.
Have an outdoor
I
meeting.
know. That's why you gave it to me that time.
Yeah, I like
I got it on, yeah. Thank you. Yeah.
just get a loudspeaker.
Oh, you definitely will, yeah.
Well, I gotta do something, if I ever move, I gotta